Welcome back to Where the Wild Roam. We're gonna go check out our last set of wolf camera traps. So all of our cameras are over here on this tree line. To find the wolves, you have to follow what they eat. In this part of California, that mostly means deer. So in the summer and the fall, deer are going to be generally dispersed above us, up in the national forests, and they're going to be munching on all these forbs and new shoots in the alpine meadows and the aspen groves and all those lush drainages. Summer range. Now in the winter time, those areas are all covered in snow and they're pretty inaccessible. That and the deer are going to be really vulnerable to predation like wolves and lions in deep snow. Thus, they come down to the lower valleys. We call that winter range. So what we've seen on our camera traps so far is mostly deer. When we're driving around, we're seeing deer. There's deer sign everywhere. Right here along the waterway, you can see the deer tracks right here. They're moving in and out, a lot of feed. And this is why the wolves are here. Yeah, it's definitely deer. About 8 days ago. Just kidding, just kidding, I would never. So it snowed last night and we've been driving around kind of scoping the valley out and definitely have a wolf jogging down the road here, probably early this morning. And that's the wolf track. And if you look, you got at least one animal here, right? You got a second animal here. And then you can see down here on the fence line, you got another animal moving through here. And yeah, look at these, look at the size of these tracks.
That's a big paw.
Okay. The wolves of the Lassen pack, well, they're mimicking the movement of the deer. In the summertime, they range over a huge swath of western Lassen County and northern Plumas County. Just like the deer, though, in the winter, they're moving down right here into Indian Valley. And that's where we planned our ambush. We figured they'd be a little easier to spot in a smaller area. It makes sense, right? I would say it was a good plan, but we failed to take one thing into account, and it's actually a pattern that I know quite well, and I totally overlooked it on this project, and that is all this prime habitat in Indian Valley, this low-lying winter range, it's all private property. And that pattern is actually duplicated all around the West. Another beautiful morning, but another beautiful morning without wolves. So when European Americans moved west and they took advantage of the Homestead Act and all these acts by Congress that encouraged development of the interior of the continent, They swooped up all those low-lying areas, all those productive areas where you could have, raise cattle and whatnot year-round and have agriculture year-round. In reality, our public land network, including a lot of national parks, are those lands that were left over and considered less desirable. What that means then is that most of this quality winter range is private property, and seeing as we don't trespass, it's made searching for the wolves a little difficult because we're kind of bound to these little public right-of-ways right here on the edge of the road.
What was that?
What's that?
What was it?
Deer jumping the fence. Deer everywhere. We have had a couple close calls. We got the heart rate going a little bit, a few times there. So we got, we think, it's a wolf out in the valley. We came out early this morning with the snow. Figured this is our best chance to actually get a wolf live. And we think we actually see one right now. And this is pretty exciting if we can get one on the real camera here.
Is it a wolf?
No, it is a coyote. We had a close call just then with that coyote. Pretty excited. He was really far off. And with the common eye, you just tell it's some sort of canid. It turned out to be a coyote. And that same public land pattern, or kind of lack thereof here in the valley, has also made it pretty difficult for us to put out our wildlife cameras. The little slivers that we have found where we can kind of put them out, and every time you pull the cards, we are getting a ton of wildlife. Every time we pull a card, it's basically deer, skunk, fox, deer. I think the chances of us seeing a wolf live with the cameras or through the binoculars is pretty rare. Looking at a hawk right now. Just wildlife all over this valley. This valley's pretty rich with the wildlife. But back to the wolves. No, I don't think we're going to see a wolf, but there's always hope.
Wave.
We're giving you guys a peek behind the fourth wall. This is production life. This is what we were gonna say today, right? Here's what we're learning as we go. Here's the redraft for tomorrow. You may be asking yourself, well, where are we right now? After you guys have a long day of chasing wolves and never filming, and what do? Well, we retired to this small, tiny camper, and we've been at it for days. And do you guys want to meet Kyle? Let's introduce you to Kyle real quick. Here we go. There's Kyle. Kyle, how was your day today?
It was good.
It was good, yeah.
I'm really bad in front of the camera.
Yeah. He doesn't have much to say, but he's good at what he does, folks. Good at what he does. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's gonna be a little more tomorrow than we thought. 5, 6. It's like 7 locations.
7 tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. Make no mistake about it, there are wolves out here, even though we're not seeing them. I'm gonna read you a little part from Thinking Like a Mountain, my favorite all-time conservation essay by Aldo Leopold. And he's kind of talking about the hidden meaning of the wolf howl in wolf country. Those unable to decipher the hidden meaning know nevertheless that it is there, for it is felt in all wolf country, and distinguishes that country from all other land. It tingles in the spine of all those who hear wolves by night, or who scan their tracks by day. Even without sight or sound of wolf, it is implicit in 100 small events: the midnight whinny of a pack horse, the rattle of rolling rocks, the bound of a fleeing deer, the way shadows lie under spruces. Only the ineducable tyro can fail to sense the presence or absence of wolves, or the fact that mountains, have a secret opinion of them. Ooh! Every time. Every time. But here's the catch, right? For me, wolves are a manifestation of the wild. But to other folks, they might mean something else entirely. Especially if you're trying to make a buck, you're living raising sheep or raising cattle. So back when my family was, celebrating the return of wolves to the west at the dinner table, we were literally passing around the beef without any thought of how wolves might affect those who produce that beef for us. Wolves do eat cattle, just like I do. And by the way, this is the best burger I've ever had. This comes from the cows right behind me back here. And the Lassen pack has impacted local ranchers in the area. Oh, you're a fit dog, aren't you? You've got to run, don't you? How many people that live in this valley, what do you think the ratio is between people who are kind of like the wolves, are indifferent?
That's mine. Thought you heard it, didn't you?
I was like, wait. We want to introduce you to Van Probst. We came to Van because he's sort of the local wolf expert here in the valley. So right in the middle of our interview with Van, he got a text message from a neighbor saying that she's hearing the wolves right now. And so Van's leading us out to see if we can go at least get some audio of these wolves howling. And Van's driving really fast. And I'm having a hell of a time keeping up with him. He's all business.
Sometimes you can spot them, you know.
Nothing so far. Van's coming back with some data right now.
Everybody around here calls if they see them or hear them.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's one way that I get to see them as much as I do. I mean, I'm out there running around by myself all the time, you know, looking. But yeah, a lot of times this is how I find where they're at. You know,
Yeah.
People call me.
Yeah.
But usually when they howl like that in the middle of, this late in the morning,
Yeah.
they're usually got somebody else, another one that they're howling at. And I thought maybe we'd hear one back across there.
Yeah. They're trying to reconnect, essentially, right?
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what do you like about hearing the wolves howl? It's kind of neat to hear, right?
When I was a kid, I wanted to kill a wolf as bad as anything. I mean, that was one of my things, is getting a wolf.
Yeah. First and foremost, you have to understand, Van is a hunter through and through to his core. That's what he does. Van hunts. He's also quite the naturalist and knows a ton about wildlife.
Oh yeah. Wow. I mean, look at this thing. Look at how far that stride is on him. But if you come over here and look at the size of,
Wow. That's pretty damn big. Put an apple for scale.
they're really impressive.
A chewed up apple.
Chewed up apple.
They'll go down the road here usually they don't travel the roads, for miles and miles like a lion will.
Yeah.
They'll go down the road here for ways like this one right here. They went right down there to that white spot and they bailed off right there
Okay.
and then went up over the top of the mountain. Roughly, 5 miles up. If you go clear to where you can't drive no farther.
Before we get to his interview, we want to show you a little bit of who Van is. The whole time we were talking at his house, he kept referencing the museum. And it turns out the museum is on his property.
I think I built it in 21 years. Well, it's colder than hell in here.
Whoa!
Come on in. Come on into the man cave.
That's a lovely wall of death. Wow.
No, that's a stone.
Stone, okay.
This is a desert,
Desert.
and that's the Rocky.
Oh, okay, there you go.
We found the bear, but the bear was dead. You're hit by that bear trap.
Watch your footing around here.
Yeah. Go ahead and pick that up.
Oh yeah. That's a. So you could trap all these wolves with this gear here in 4 days, man. If you wanted to. I was a little overstimulated inside the museum. I was a little excited. Van's total sweetheart of a wife, Kay, also baked us cookies on the spot, and I had like 5 cookies and a bunch of coffee, and yeah, I was a little excited. Trapped, and this is a man cave I've ever seen.
Say that again?
Okay, so how many people do you think like the wolves in the valley versus don't want anything to do with them, wish they were all gone?
I'd say most of the people here don't like them. Most of the people in this valley don't like them. Because most of them are either ranchers or they got something to do with the ranching. You know? Or they got livestock of some sort.
Van has lived in the valley for over 40 years. He's obviously a very proficient hunter. He knows the country literally like the back of his hand. He can talk about every drainage around here. He's also the guy that people call, the local ranchers call, when they have a predator eating their livestock. When there's a predation problem with lions or bears, Van will work with the local game wardens, with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and he'll be the one that actually will go out and remove the animals. He previously ran hounds. And so if there's anybody that can speak to the entry of a new top-tier carnivore to this valley and its effect on the ranchers, it's the guy the ranchers call when they're in a pinch.
You know, them lion and them bears and them wolves kill a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well, the wolves don't. The wolves haven't yet. Let me put it that way. But people thinking that the wolves are going to start. Now, maybe they won't much more than what they are.
Yeah.
Because here, they really haven't done much in this valley here yet.
Yeah.
They haven't done much here.
Yeah.
Just over the mountain, I've killed, a few. And up here, up the other way, up Lights Creek, last summer, they killed some of that guy's cattle up there.
Yep. Yep.
This valley hasn't been too bad yet. But we have run them out of the cattle a couple of times too, though.
What position do you think that puts folks like your neighbors who have a small operation, a handful of pigs? What happens if they get a couple wolf losses? What does that do to their small little operation?
Well, I mean, that's their livelihood, They that's how they're surviving. Those few cattle they got over there, and I got a few pigs and a few sheep. And like I say, the lions have come in there quite a few times, and the bear, and killed a lot of stuff. And we've got rid of them. Depredation permits, we were able to do that. Mm-hmm. The wolves, you don't have any control. Once they start doing that, once they start getting low on feed, which is going to happen, when if they get much more of a herd. I mean, they got a pack. They've got to survive, and you can't blame the dadgum wolf for wanting to kill something, but you got to control them. Mm-hmm. You can't just. So those poor people, hell, they're out. You kill a couple of cattle and 4 or 5 sheep or whatever they kill in a year or something, I mean, that's quite a bit to some of these people.
After a day spent with Van, a couple things became obvious. First, there are a few impacts that wolves are bringing to this community, and he has a strong disdain for that based on a lifetime of predator control. He also has a fear of those impacts growing, and he mentioned that several times. He also, and I think this was obvious to Kyle and I, has a respect and an admiration for the wolves. He gets a bit of a kick out of hearing them howl and seeing their tracks.
Hey, is he over there?
Yeah, he's right here.
Hey,
come on.
Come here.
Come on.
Here.
And furthermore, he's essentially taken his lifetime of skills as a hunter of predators and at performing predator control and his tracking ability and his knowledge of their patterns, and he's applying it to the Lassen pack. By doing so, he's become sort of the wolf monitor here in the community. The community turns to him with wolf information. He educates them in his own way. And in other parts of the state, and really around the West, when wolves come into a community like this and there's immediate impacts, wolves can sometimes disappear under mysterious circumstances, especially in a well-armed community like this. That's not happening here. And I think that Van is a big reason for that. I think if you're a fan of wolves, you should be a fan of people like Van. And what that really shows is just how kind of nuanced the wolf issues and the issues surrounding wolves on private property can be. You can both hate the impacts, but respect the animal.
What are those?
Cranes! Love me some cranes. One thing that's kind of neat, we think, is as we've been out looking for the wolves, we're seeing all kinds of wildlife. Sandhill cranes, skunks, river otters, hundreds of deers, all kinds of birds of prey. There's owls hooting, saw a golden eagle. And that is noteworthy. And what that really is showing is that ranches like the ones below us provide year-round habitat and year-round open space. They also provide habitat for a lot of animals that use ranches like this part of the year. Animals migrating perhaps. They can provide corridors between big public land complexes, which allows dispersing animals to travel back and forth. It allows gene flow between public land networks. Of course, the quality of that habitat varies widely, depending on how much emphasis the ranch manager places on habitat conservation or general land stewardship. And I want to go down there. I want to sneak around, see if I get closer to the sandhill cranes, maybe creep up on a spot and see the wolves. And I can't because it's private property. That being said, I'm still going to take this current use over the potential alternatives. When ranching ceases to become profitable, we often see places like this converted to oil development zones, right? Derricks as far as you can see, or huge subdivisions. I'll always choose this over the alternative.
Where the Wild Roam is hosted by Joe Flannery.
My grandfather was a park ranger. My parents were both park rangers. I was the third generation. I've been lucky enough to spend my entire life outdoors, learning and working in conservation. And I'm excited to share that knowledge with you.
With Kyle Lancaster.
Lately, we've been getting into conservation filmmaking. We believe that a conservation ethic begins with education and understanding. Never stop learning about the natural world.
And hey, if you like the show, please support, share, subscribe, follow, like, and all that stuff. Let's start a movement that prioritizes wildlife, wild places, and conservation within our daily lives.